Greetings, friends. You can sit down, please. It's a long speech, about 50 minutes. No, I'm joking. Greetings, trustees, excellencies, faculty, staff, administrators, alumni, friends, parents, and especially graduates of the class of 2024. Welcome to your graduation. Today, while we celebrate your many accomplishments, I want to pivot to discuss the relevance of failure and how it helps propel us forward towards even greater success. Not only to observe or to experience, but to learn from and to celebrate. The ancient Greeks accepted failure. They celebrated it, they lionized it. Think of the opening lines of the Iliad. Sing, goddess, Achilles' rage, black and murderous, that cost the Greeks incalculable pain, pitched countless souls of heroes into Hades dark, and left their bodies to rot as feasts. For dogs and birds, as Zeus's will was done. Begin with the clash between Agamemnon, the Greek warlord, and godlike Achilles. Which of the immortals set these two at each other's throats? Apollo, Zeus's son, and Letos, offended by the warlord Agamemnon had dishonored Chryses. Apollo's priest, so the god, struck the Greek camp with plague, and the soldiers were dying of it. This, my friends, is failure on an epic scale. The feud between Achilles and Agamemnon is a monumental failure of leadership and equanimity on both their parts, with scores of Greeks meeting their death because of an honor feud over the woman Briseis. Contemporary American critics might call this dispute the mother of all failures. It occupies a substantial portion of the plot and breadth of the first great epic poem in the Western canon. Yet the ultimate hero of the Iliad is neither the all-conquering Agamemnon nor the wily Odysseus, who devises the Trojan horse and is the hero, of course, of the Odyssey. Rather, it is the mighty Achilles for whom all his legendary prowess falls victim to his unchecked fury and his ill judgment. Achilles' fatal flaw lies in his inability to learn from previous failures, the defining quality of the tragic hero, from Homer on through Shakespeare to the present. The Greeks defined that failure of judgment, that lack of a capacity to learn from one's errors, as hubris. The scions of European civilizations were far from the only ones to celebrate failure and loss. The greatest pre-Islamic Arabic poetry included the poetry of lamentation, hence the immortal words of امرؤ القيس. قفا نبكي من ذكرى حبيب ومنزلي بسقط اللوى بين الدخول فحوملي فتوضح بالمقراط لم يعفو رسمها لما نسجتها من جنوب وشمال كأني غداة البين يوم تحملوا لدى سمرات الحي نافي حنطلي وقفوا بها صحبي علي مطيهم يقولون لا تهلك أسى وتجملي. And then the poem ends, or towards the end, وليل كموج البحر أرخى سدوله علي بأنواع الهموم ليبتلي فقلت له لما تمطى بصلبه وأردف إعجازا وناء بكلكلي إلا أيها الليل طويل ألا أنجلي بصبح وما الأصباح منك بأمثلي. امرؤ القيس opens his poem addressing his two companions and asks them to stand and cry with him in memory of his murdered father and his lost kingdom, a kingdom that has become a ruin with the winds of the south and the north blowing in it, erasing its traces. He describes how the antelopes and gazelles have taken up residence in the place of the familiar people to him who abandoned it. His friends console him with patience such that he does not perish from grief. He ends by describing his suffering during the long nights, the anguish of which does not even subside with the advent of day. So the great poet's lamentation of loss of home, heritage, and the beloveds sets the stage for the next phase of Arabic commemorations of catastrophe. One of the most significant of these came after the Battle of Uhud, where the Prophet Muhammad and his followers sustained exceptionally heavy losses. In a recent essay, Professor Nadia al-Sheikh describes how defeat in this battle helped define central concepts and practices for the emerging Islamic concept of al-ummah, of nationhood, and its requirements of conduct. The vengeance inflicted on the followers of Muhammad in the Battle of Uhud is so extreme, so wild, so savage, that it recalls the slaughter Achilles wrought on the Trojans after the death of his companion Patroclus. And yet the failure to anticipate the vengeance of Bani Quraysh on the Muslims leads to the opposite effect, a restraint on the type of revenge that can be taken. This at last is an example of learning from failure, and its effect on morale and discipline in the Muslim military ethos is hard to overestimate. Epic failures such as the Battle of Uhud and as found in the saga of the Iliad continue to the present day and can be found in our recent past. In 1948, the eminent Ayyubi professor Constantin Zurek coined the phrase an-Nakba to describe the catastrophe inflicted on the Palestinians when the Arab nations failed to protect the Palestinian people in their homeland, and the Western powers failed to stop the nascent Israeli state from carrying out this ethnic cleansing and wholesale theft of land. Zurek's prophetic judgment that peace would elude the entire region so long as the rights of the Palestinian people went unfulfilled would come to haunt the MENA region as the Nakba continues to hover menacingly over the Levant and to a lesser degree over the entire Arab world. The inhumane war on Gaza we bear witness to is but the latest tragic consequence of this colossal failure. So, the question of Palestine has been a central core of our shared experience at AUB. The failure to address, much less resolve it fairly and humanely, hangs over the lands we draw the vast majority of our students from, much as Professor Zurek predicted. But now it has become the cause existentielle for young people around the world. They refuse to sanction the continuation of this profound injustice, ignored as it has been by Western powers for nearly a century. Not in their name and not in their time is what they are saying. No amount of patronizing or policing can sweep the cause under the door, and I'm confident that this youthful generation will see it through such that Palestinians, like African Americans 5 decades ago, and South Africans 20 years after that, can extol, in the words of the late Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., free at last, thank God Almighty, we're free at last. The failure of peoples, of nation states, of fairness and opportunity for all marks our paths historically. It is a failure of men, not women, of leaders, of grand visions, and their woeful implementations. But in the seeds of these failures, we can glean the well-disguised kernels that will one day sprout, lighting the path towards equitable progress. As Albert Camus wrote in The Stranger, in the midst of winter, I found there was within me, within every one of you, an invincible summer. And that makes me happy, for it says that no matter how hard the world pushes against me, within me there's something stronger, something better, pushing right back. That invincible summer of Camus is in fact born amid winter's trials and tribulations. This is a truth you, our graduates, and our honorands, trustees, faculty, staff, and friends all share. Everyone here by now has had the opportunity to try something that was beyond their capacity, to strive wholeheartedly, but to fail. In coming to terms with your failures, you've learned defining lessons, even when you never quite succeed in scaling that particular mountain. I can certainly relate. I've had applications for research grants, training grants, papers all denied, petitions for nominations and awards, proposals for projects and plans declined repeatedly. Like you, every defeat was painful, distressing, even on occasion demoralizing. But these failures have made me, as yours have made you, much the better for it. Like you, our magnificent students, trustees, faculty, staff, and honorants, I learned from defeat, disappointment, and disillusionment to emerge in that invincible summer, stronger, more purposeful, and wiser than before. Therefore, class of 2024, celebrate your successes in graduating today, secure in the knowledge that every misstep was ultimately a stride forward in our shared journey to a better life for all, towards shaping societies where every life can and must be made more useful and more abundant. I want to close by offering each and one of you and your families my profound congratulations. One of the last lessons we're going to give you, or I'm going to give you before you leave, I'm going to request you indulge me in watching this 33-second video on failure by the great basketball player, Michael Jordan. A great champion and a ferocious competitor, Jordan's repeated failures when it mattered and lessons learned from them blazed his trail to enduring athletic success.
I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I've failed over and over and over again in my life. And that is why I succeed.
That path strewn with failure, that must also be our path. Success, unfortunately, but realistically earned the hard way. Ultimate communal success, all the more rewarding for having failed at it time and again. This then is my final charge to you, the class of 2024. You entered amidst the pandemic, the port explosion, tragedy after tragedy. But now you go forth with the knowledge that you can fail mightily. You can fail mightily without doing it reluctantly or shamefully. Fail fast, as they say in Silicon Valley. Fail with all your spirit and learn from each and every one of those failures, that your successes will one day carry your communities, societies, and nations forward to better, more sustainable and inclusive futures. Thank you and congratulations.